if I know exactly how to word this, but like, how did you feel about supporting your grief when you started to be at a point that you were like capable of integrating back into society more, starting to take on more like responsibilities or just like life activities, as opposed to in the beginning? I feel like there's so much space for your grief because you're just not capable of handling anything else but your grief. But then as you start to heal and you move forward, you just naturally start integrating back into what were your kind of like what are daily routines, daily life demands. And for me, I start to feel like I'll look up and all of a sudden realize like I haven't had space for my grief. I haven't been thinking about it. I've just been like going and going and going, and then kind of stopping and wondering like, what's happening right now? Should I be, I guess, grieving more? And then when I do have moments of grief and feeling like, well, I don't have time for this right now because I've got to, be somewhere at in an hour to go pick up Maverick, and before that I need to get these chores done, or feeling like I've now committed myself to more things than I was taking on before, and so it's just hard to carve out that space.
But I think, don't you, that it will come in if you ignore it for too long? It's sort of, I mean, I think it's healthy that we're living our lives, that we have to live and grieve at the same time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes there are days or weeks where we're just really busy, and you've got a little one, so you're living in the moment. It's very full on. So you're bound to, it's like a distraction. But I think the minute you pause, it can, sometimes it can come in.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about grief waves, don't they? I
Mm-hmm.
suppose for me, because of writing and now the work I do, well, also the work you do, we are talking about grief a lot. That's part of what we do now. So for you and I, we're not really fully stepping back, but it's different, isn't it? Because when you're talking to someone, or when I'm working with somebody and hearing about their grief, I'm doing it from a different perspective. So my
Mm-hmm.
grief's on the back burner, and your grief probably is on the back burner, but it's still there. It's like that. I find that it's always there. I don't
Oh yeah.
ever really. Um, when people say I think about them every day, I think every day. I think every minute is pervaded in some way. I mean, I function and I do other things and I can focus on other things, but it's just, I feel like it's in me. The grief is in me, in my bones. It is, but I'm probably not explaining it very well, because it's not like I'm on my knees wailing, um,
Mm-hmm.
and like I used to, but it's there. And it's something we carry, isn't it? That's how. But I guess everyone's experience is different, So
It's
I
so
don't know,
hard to articulate, I think.
isn't it? I'm not doing very well,
Mm-hmm.
but I think
No,
probably
you're
you.
doing great. I feel the
Okay.
same way. I'm like, I don't really know how to explain. I guess, and I even was thinking about, I agree with you. Like, Orion's with me all throughout the day, all, woven through my thoughts and my actions. And yes, part of that is because of the work that I do, that I am always steeped in this environment of grief. But it's not the same as me grieving.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's so natural for me to, I mean, he was my son, your son was your son. Like, it's so natural as a mom for them to already be in your thoughts all the time, even when they were here with us. That part doesn't really change, so it doesn't
It
it
doesn't.
doesn't feel like I think about him differently than I did before. But like this morning I did a meditation, and I saw Orion, and like picked him up and hugged him, and I just out of nowhere like was overcome with this emotion and feeling of like, oh my god, I miss
Yeah,
that.
of
And
course you
I
do.
was like crying in this meditation, and I meditate frequently, and I always envision him you know, just being there like with me, and that he's like this constant source of just energetic support. And so that caught me off guard. And then it made me think about, you know, this morning, like, you know, kind of like what you said, like, have I not been giving the space? And that's why I had that kind of like strong reaction. But then also this morning I thought, like, man, I'd really like to just, you know, break down and spend time crying and grieving. I feel like now in my grief journey, that feeling has changed from what it was like in the beginning. In the beginning, those kinds of behaviors and crying, like that deep crying, was scary to me. And now it feels like therapeutic and a release.
Yeah.
But it's definitely